It's actually my first car. It's the only car I've ever owned. I'm Simon. This is what started out as a completely standard 1300 Beetle. Now a little bit modified, but it's my baby and I love it. It's actually my first car. It's the only car I've ever owned. So I've had it for nearly 20 years now. Always wanted a Beetle since I was, God, I don't know, about 11 probably. Finished university, wanted to get a car. There's only one choice. And this is the car I bought. Still my daily driver, has been for the entire time I've owned it. For the most part, it's been fine. You know, when it was completely standard, never had a problem at all. When we started playing around with the engines and trying to modify things, then there were a few blow-ups and a few times I had to resort to the push bike, but generally speaking, it's been absolutely fine. Basically, from when I got it in 1998, first show was Santa Pod. Used to go down to Newquay, you know, Bristol Volksfest obviously, because it's so close, and just more and more shows and just all rolling out to the coast in our Volkswagens. One of the most surprising things was I was at a classic car show probably a couple of years ago now, and a guy walked up to me and said, "Oh, that car used to be turquoise, didn't it? But it wasn't that turquoise." I looked a bit puzzled and confused, and he'd recognised the registration number, and he was actually the guy who'd sold the car new in 1972, and he remembered it because he'd had it as a demonstrator for 2 weeks. Then I knew for definite that the car had been in Cardiff for its entire life. She has got a name, as all good Volkswagens should. She's called Pootle, and the reason being is because when I got her, she only went pootling speed. And I don't know if anyone can remember a kids' TV programme back in probably the 80s now, TV programme called The Flumps, and there was a flump called Pootle, and she was always doing things wrong, and everyone would go, "Oh, Pootle." And that was the common phrase, if she should ever break down. Everyone always asks, how long has it taken to restore, or the answer is the entire time I've owned her, 20 years. You try and do a little bit and you want to upgrade here or upgrade there, but also because she's a daily driver, you've got to keep her running and working all the time. But then it was around 2011, needed some serious work from all the daily driving, and so we took her off the road, did a body off restoration, which went basically as far as I could afford. I started off with a certain amount of money in the bank, and I ended up with no money in the bank and a little bit on the credit card. It's not a completed restoration because it's never finished. Obviously, every little trip is a journey. You're always listening out for something that might not be quite right, or, you know, it's an old car at the end of the day, and there's a couple of times we're on our way home, everything's been fine, and I can smell fuel and things aren't sounding quite right. We pull over and ended up lashing the air filters and carburetors together with hair bands, elastic bands, electrical tape, gaffer tape, just to hold everything in place because the linkage had been pulling it. But yet again, I got home. There's always something eventful, but it's never catastrophic.